What is going on, community? What is going on, people of Earth? Welcome back to the Flash by Night channel, and welcome back to Transformers Tuesday. Usually on Tuesdays, I am here going over an issue of Marvel's Transformers with you, but I want to do something different this week and a few weeks going forward. IDW recently put out a mini-series called Transformers Shattered Glass. There's a Transformers Shattered Glass 2 going on currently, but before I bring you what's in Shattered Glass 2, we've got to go back and cover Shattered Glass 1. So Shattered Glass is basically a story where we have our Autobot and Decepticons roles reversed. The Decepticons are somewhat good. I'm an old school guy. I can't just say Decepticons are heroes, but they aren't evil in this case. And the Autobots are evil in these stories. And so I wanted to bring the Shattered Glass story to you. And the first couple of books I want to go over are Shattered Glass issues number 1 and number 2. So Shattered Glass issue number 1 basically introduces us to the environment that the story will be taking place in. It introduces us to the current state of Cybertron. It shows us that the Autobots have in themselves split up into 3 different factions that have their own territories. One run by Optimus Prime, one run by Prowl, and one run by Goldbug. But what we do is we open up and we see our kind of POV character, who is Blur, coming into Gold City, where Goldbug rules, and also home of the body scrappers. And the body scrappers are basically robots, bounty hunters. They go out and find parts of other robots, mainly Decepticons, who again are the good guys, mainly Decepticons, to try and patch up and repair other robots who either are Autobots or at least aren't Decepticons. So we have a conversation that takes place between Ratchet and Blur, and you can tell they aren't the best of friends, but they are good working partners. Ratchet is kind of the middleman. He gets some of the assignments for the bounty hunters. Blur is the fastest robot alive and also the greatest bounty hunter, at least in his own mind, alive on Cybertron. And Ratchet throws Blur a bone because Blur has been kind of bored. The hunts have been getting easier and easier, and also the pickings has been getting slimmer and slimmer. But Ratchet throws out the ultimate test, the ultimate hunt. He says that Goldbug himself is willing to pay a large price for anyone that will bring the second lieutenant to Megatron to justice. Goldbug wants someone to bring in Starscream. You get these other 2 unfortunate bounty hunters who are trying to collect the bounty on Starscream. However, Blur can't let that go down. Blur doesn't want to give up the bounty. He doesn't want to give up the glory. So he helps Starscream avoid these 2 bounty hunters, and they kind of make a pact. The pact that they make is that basically Blur takes Starscream to Gold City himself, and they kind of get to walk in instead of having to fight and hurt each other and everything, because there must be something important that Goldbug wants with Starscream if he's going to put out this bounty. And this bounty basically asks for Starscream to come back alive, in one piece, able to talk. Starscream must know something, right? We'll find out. In the meantime, we have Blur basically trying to lay, I won't say a guilt trip, but he tries to paint himself as the victim almost of the Autobot Decepticon wars when Starscream asks him what's up with him trying to help. He tells Starscream that, hey, like I said, he's kind of an innocent victim. He doesn't want to be a Autobot killer, basically. He wanted to be a scout, and the scouts kind of got drugged into the war. He also explains further about the territories owned by Prowl and by Goldbug and by Optimus Prime, explaining to Starscream that he doesn't want to actually meet any of them. And then after all of the talk, all of the convincing that Blur does, Starscream reluctantly comes along with him, becomes his partner, and is going to go to their destination. Or so we think. You guys know Starscream. Starscream is always cunning, always thinking. Even if he doesn't always finish what he started, he's at least thinking it through. And of course Starscream doesn't really trust Blur. And so when the time is right, when they are in the right location, Starscream decides to put an end to their partnership, put an end to this pretending, and starts a fight with Blur. And throughout their altercation, Blur basically tells Starscream that he should quit because Blur is faster than Starscream. Starscream's never going to catch him. Starscream is never going to actually beat Blur in a fight. Starscream knows this though. And Starscream didn't really come there to beat Blur in a fight. Starscream came there to outsmart Blur and lead Blur where he wants them to go, which is in the middle of these volcanoes where he can set one off and Blur can get caught in the lava, and basically that is the end of Blur. But as we end our story, or at least we end the first issue, what Starscream says is that he really needed Blur to help him cross some of the terrain, but now he must finish his journey and he must go find who he's been looking for. He must go and find Megatron. Why does Blur need to find Megatron? Why does Blur have a bounty on his head? Stick around for issue number 2 and you will find out. So Shattered Glass issue number 2 has this nice homage cover to, I believe, Transformers 71 from the Marvel run. But let me tell you, there is heavy foreshadowing in this picture. So we're going to get into it. So we pick up with Starscream having crossed the Rust Seas to find Megatron, and they do a little bit of small talk, a little bit of catching up. Well, at least Starscream does some small talk. Megatron is really not happy that Starscream is there, and we'll find out why. But first, Megatron has to take care of Starscream because the Rust Seas and the Transformers' bodies don't particularly go hand in hand. They kind of, I guess, break down the electronics and stuff inside the Transformers' bodies. So Starscream went through a really rough time getting to Megatron and needs to be taken care of. So when he comes to and he's feeling better, Starscream again engages in what I call small talk and ends up in a conversation with Megatron about the first time that he met and he saw Megatron, where Megatron had been basically leading protest against the Autobots and against the Senate that is a little bit tyrannical, you could say. They were definitely heavy-handed as a government and as a society. And Megatron and some of his Decepticons, as they called them, you know, wanted to push back against the government a little, wanted to bring some freedom into the Cybertron space. However, when the protests get a little testy, Prowl gets a little too close and says some things that Megatron isn't happy to hear. And Megatron kind of puts his hands on Prowl, who is like head of the Senate security. This doesn't go over well. And here is when we really start to dive deep into our initial conflict and the problems that exist in Cybertron. And it all stems from the testy friendship and the breakdown of the friendship between Orion Pax at the time and Megatron, where Orion Pax is one of the main senators, and he is basically bailing Megatron out of jail for putting his hand on Prowl, and he tries to kind of poke and make Megatron thank him for letting him out of jail. And of course Megatron feels like if it wasn't for the Senate, if it wasn't for Orion Pax, and if it wasn't for their machinations, he wouldn't be in jail over and over and over. Yes, Megatron, the civil rights leader, has gone to jail multiple times, and that is hilarious to me. But on a really, really serious note, he accuses Pax of all sorts of things, including, what do they call it? Imperator, which is what happened to Shockwave. And the reason why we see Shockwave with the traditional one eye and no hands and a little laser, he blames Orion Pax for Shockwave being done like that. Shockwave had a regular face, had hands, but as a member of the Senate, Shockwave wouldn't back down. He wouldn't be pushed around. He wanted to push Cybertron in a different direction. And Megatron thought that Pax had his goon squad, his secret police force, basically manhandle Shockwave and disfigure him as a sign to everyone that they shouldn't stand up against the Senate. That did not sit well with Orion Pax, and all of a sudden, these two friends are at each other's neck. And then what comes next is something that surprised me, something that shocked me. Megatron knows that Starscream is here looking for something. He's looking for a leader. And Megatron says that he is not a leader. He's tried leader before. He let people down. He eventually led the benevolent Decepticons in a war against the evil Autobots. It did not turn out well. He knows it didn't turn out well. He has been carrying that burden for the killer cycles. And he believes that what he did was he became a martyr, and he basically lost the fight because he was fighting angry, he was being selfish, and he lost the fight and lost Decepticons to the Autobots in the Great War. Of course there's a Great War. It's a Transformer story. There's always a Great War. But Starscream says that he remembers the fight differently. Starscream is actually trying to boost up Megatron's confidence, not for the fake boost that we would expect Starscream to have to try and overthrow Megatron or something we've known, but he actually wants to boost up Megatron's confidence, bring Megatron out of the dumps, because Megatron is off by himself because he thinks he needs to be exiled, because he thinks he's not a leader, because he thinks that he shouldn't have anything to do with the Decepticons because he let everyone down. Starscream reminds him that what really happened is that during this great battle, Megatron knew that he would lose to Optimus Prime or Orion Pax. Slip up. But he knew that he would lose to Orion Pax, but what he could do is he could stay there and he could sacrifice himself while all of the other Decepticons got off planet and made their way either back to Cybertron, because this war is happening on Earth, either make their way back to Cybertron or some other planet but they can be safe from Orion Pax. That is the leader Starscream has come looking for. But all of these stories and all of these memories still don't tell Megatron what Starscream is there for. And Starscream tells Megatron that in the past, he's had a theory, and I think he's shared it with Megatron before. He's had a theory that his spark was special, and his spark was strong enough to handle a certain project. And he has come to find out that this theory about his spark is actually reality, and that he could bring back the Titans, and he, along with Megatron, could take Cybertron back from the Autobots. I don't know if you remember the Titans, but if you remember Metroplex, Trypticon, Fortress Maximus, big city-size Transformers like that, those are Titans, and those are the Transformers that Starscream wants to wake up. And that is how we end issues number 1 and 2 of Transformers Shattered Glass. We basically set the stage for what Starscream wants to do, for his attempt to awake the Titans and try and bring back freedom to Cybertron. The action is going to pick up more and more from here, but it was really fascinating to see Starscream be a sympathetic character, and for Megatron to actually have some kind of feelings. We really haven't seen much of the Autobot characters yet, except for Orion Pax, who is pretty low down here, but we're going to get more of that later on down the line. But I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you saw something you liked. If you did enjoy yourself, go ahead, hit that like button, and if you want to keep up with me, catching up with the Transformers, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Of course, feel free to leave comments, and as we always do at this time, love yourself, love others, and I will be back in the flash.